I knew something was wrong the moment I put my key in the lock and heard music playing inside my apartment. After 2 weeks away on a business trip, all I wanted was to collapse into my own bed. Instead, I found my sister sprawled on my couch, scrolling through her phone while my grandmother's antique lamps had been shoved into a corner. My name is Olive, and I'm an interior architect who spent the last 3 years turning this apartment into my sanctuary. Every paint color, every piece of furniture, every carefully curated detail represented not just my taste, but my independence. Vienna? I dropped my suitcase. What are you doing here? She barely glanced up. Oh, hey, Mom and Dad said I could move in. You're barely here anyway, always traveling for work and stuff. The room spun slightly. They said you could move in to my apartment? Yeah. She gestured around with perfectly manicured nails. I'm thinking of painting these walls pink. This beige is so boring, and that vintage furniture has to go. It's totally throwing off my Instagram aesthetic. I steadied myself against the door frame. You can't just... Don't be dramatic, Olive. Mom said you'd act like this. Vienna rolled her eyes. They already helped me move most of my stuff in. Check the spare room. I rushed to my home office, my hands shaking. The room where I did my best design work, where I kept my grandmother's old writing desk, had been transformed into a chaotic explosion of Vienna's clothes and makeup. My drafting table was buried under shopping bags. Where are my work materials? I managed to ask. Oh, those boring blueprints and stuff? Mom packed them in boxes. They're in the storage unit downstairs. I pulled out my phone and called my mother. She answered on the first ring as if waiting. Mom, why is Vienna in my apartment? Olive, don't start. Her voice took on that familiar condescending tone. Your sister needed a fresh start after her breakup, and you're never there anyway. It's selfish to keep an entire apartment to yourself when family needs help. But it's my apartment, which we helped you get, she cut in. Remember who co-signed your lease? Your father and I think it's time you learned to share. Vienna's going through a difficult time. When is she not? I muttered. I heard that. This attitude of yours, always thinking you're better than everyone. Patricia? My father's voice in the background. Let me talk to her. Nelson, I've got this handled. I ended the call and turned to find Vienna watching me with that same smug expression she'd worn since childhood, whenever she'd broken something of mine and known she'd get away with it. You should see your face right now, she giggled, so serious. Mom said you'd throw a fit, but honestly, this is good for you. You need to learn to be more flexible. I walked to my bedroom. At least this space was still untouched. Sitting on my bed, I pulled out my phone again and opened my contacts. My finger hovered over my cousin Emerson's name. Vienna appeared in the doorway. By the way, I'm having some friends over tonight to celebrate the move. You should join us, unless you're going to be all weird and antisocial like usual. Something inside me shifted. All those years of being the difficult daughter, the one who didn't fit the mold, who worked too hard and smiled too little, they crystallized into a cold, clear purpose. No, I said quietly, I don't think I will be joining. Your loss. She shrugged. Oh, and I borrowed your good wine for tonight. Hope that's cool. I waited until she bounced away before typing a message to Emerson. Need your legal expertise. Family situation. How soon can we meet? The response came quickly. Tomorrow morning, my office, 9 a.m. What's wrong? I looked around my bedroom, remembering my grandmother's words the day before she died. Olive, my dear, I've made arrangements. When the time comes, you'll understand. Another text from Vienna lit up my phone. BTW, your clothes are taking up too much closet space. Move them to the guest room. XOXO. My fingers flew across the screen to Emerson. They forgot something important about me. I don't scream anymore. I document. I got up and grabbed my camera, starting with photos of the chaos in my office. They wanted a war? Fine. But it would be fought my way, with quiet precision and perfect documentation. Let them think I'd rolled over again. I'd learned long ago that revenge doesn't announce itself with a bang, it whispers. Emerson's law office was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd escaped our family's drama. Minimalist, organized, and completely devoid of the artificial warmth my mother insisted on surrounding herself with. They did what? Emerson's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth as I finished explaining. Moved her in while I was away, I repeated, spreading out the photos I'd taken. Look at what she's done to my office in just 2 weeks. That's, Emerson set her cup down carefully. That's actually illegal. Several kinds of illegal, in fact. She pulled out her laptop. Let me pull up something. Your grandmother came to see me about 6 months before she passed. I blinked. She did. Remember how she insisted on paying for your apartment's down payment? Emerson's fingers flew across the keyboard. There's something you need to see. She turned the screen toward me. There, in crisp legal language, was a document I'd never seen before. My name was all over it. Your grandmother didn't just help you buy that apartment, Emerson said quietly. She left it to you completely in her will. The room went still. But my parents, they said they co-signed the lease. They lied. Emerson's voice was flat. They've been lying about a lot of things. While I was looking into this, I found something else. She pulled out a thick folder. Your trust fund statements. My stomach dropped. What about them? 3 years ago, there was a significant withdrawal, nearly half the account. She spread out bank statements. The signatures look questionable. I remember that time. Vienna had crashed her second car, needed money to start fresh in her fashion business venture. Mom had been especially nice to me that month, bringing me lunch at work, asking about my projects. They used my trust fund to bail out Vienna. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. It gets worse. Emerson leaned forward. The apartment's deed has only your name on it. They've been pretending to have legal rights they don't have. Your grandmother made sure of that. Why wouldn't she tell me? Because she knew you'd tell them. You always told them everything, Olive, until now. I stood up, pacing the office. So what do we do? First, we document everything. Then, Emerson smiled grimly, we go nuclear. Legally speaking, of course. For the next 2 hours, we built a case. Every unauthorized withdrawal, every forged document, every lie carefully cataloged. My phone buzzed repeatedly, Vienna complaining about the Wi-Fi password being changed, Mom demanding I stop being childish. One more thing, Emerson said, pulling out another document. Your grandmother left a will addendum. Your mother tried to suppress it, but Harold Wilkins kept a copy. I read it slowly, my hands shaking. To my dearest Olive, I've watched them dim your light for years. This apartment is yours, free and clear. Don't let anyone tell you different. Sometimes the kindest hearts need the strongest shields. Love, Grandma. She knew, I whispered. She knew they'd try something like this. Your grandmother was nobody's fool. Emerson started preparing legal documents. Now we have options. We can go straight to eviction, or we can... My phone rang. Mom again. I answered on speaker. Olive, Vienna says you changed the Wi-Fi password. This is childish behavior. Mom, I interrupted calmly, I need you to listen carefully. I'm at my lawyer's office. Silence. We found some interesting documents about the apartment, about my trust fund. Whatever that cousin of yours is telling you, goodbye, Mom. I hung up. Well, Emerson said, that should give them something to think about. Ready for phase 2? I nodded, picking up my grandmother's letter again. No yelling, no splashing. I want them to drown in silence. That's poetic. and slightly terrifying. Emerson started printing documents. I'll have these ready by morning. Eviction notice, cease and desist, everything. My phone lit up with texts from Vienna. Mom's crying because of you? Why are you being such a bitch? I already told everyone this is my new place. I turned off my phone and looked at Emerson. How long will all this take? To completely resolve, a few weeks. But to start? She handed me a stack of papers. You can serve these tonight, 72 hours to vacate. I stood up, gathering my things. They always said I was a difficult daughter, the cold one, the one who couldn't just go with the flow. Well, Emerson replied, let's show them exactly how difficult you can be, legally speaking, of course. I left her office with a briefcase full of documents and a heart full of ice. They wanted the real Olive. They were about to meet her. I returned to my apartment with calculated indifference, ignoring the sound of Vienna's voice carrying through the door as she recorded another TikTok video using my living room as her backdrop. I took photos of everything: the scratches on my hardwood floors from her moving furniture, the nail holes in my carefully painted walls, the wine stains on my grandmother's Persian rug. Oh my God, you're being so creepy right now, Vienna said, lowering her phone. Why are you taking pictures? Just documenting the changes you've made. I kept my voice neutral. Love what you've done with the place. She preened, missing my sarcasm entirely. Right? I'm thinking of painting this wall hot pink. It'll look amazing for my lifestyle content. Interesting choice. I snapped another photo. And the antique mirror? That old thing, I sold it online. It didn't match my aesthetic. My grandmother's mirror. I added that to my mental tally and took out my phone, typing a quick message to Emerson. Hey, Vienna called out. Since you're being weird anyway, can you Venmo me for the cleaning service? They're coming tomorrow to replace all these dusty old rugs. I looked up slowly. You hired cleaners? Yeah, Mom said to just send you the bill. It's only like $2,000. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Can we talk? Coffee at Marcel's? I studied the message. Dad had always been the quiet enabler, the one who watched from the sidelines as Mom and Vienna ran their schemes. But something in his message felt different. Sure, I texted back. 30 minutes. Marcel's was our old spot, where he used to take me for hot chocolate after my piano recitals, before Vienna decided she wanted to be a musician and suddenly my lessons weren't important anymore. Dad was already there when I arrived, looking older than I remembered. Olive, he said softly, standing to pull out my chair. Thank you for coming. You wanted to talk? I kept my voice level. He wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. Your mother. She doesn't know I'm here. And? The trust fund, he said quietly. I knew about it. I signed the papers. I sat very still, letting his confession hang in the air. She said it was temporary, he continued, that we'd pay it back before you ever knew, but then Vienna needed more help, and you chose her. Again? He flinched. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Dad? Explain it to me. Your mother, when she gets an idea in her head. He trailed off, staring into his coffee. I should have protected you more. Yes, I said simply. You should have. Can we fix this? He looked up, hopeful. Maybe we can work something out. Keep it in the family. The family? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos. The family that moved someone into my home without permission. The family that sold my grandmother's mirror. That family. Vienna did what? His face paled. The mirror from your grandmother's estate? Sold it for her aesthetic. I put my phone away. Did you know the apartment is mine? Legally? Grandmother left it to me in her will. He closed his eyes. Patricia said she'd handled the will, that everything was split equally. More lies. I stood up. You know what hurts the most, Dad? Not that Mom plays favorites, not that Vienna takes whatever she wants. It's that you saw it all and did nothing. Olive, please. I have something for Vienna, I said, pulling out an envelope. Since you're here, you can watch me deliver it. We walked back to the apartment in silence. Vienna was still recording videos, now wearing one of my designer blazers. Is that my clothes? I asked quietly. Oh, please. She rolled her eyes. Like you ever wear the good stuff. I'm actually doing them justice. I handed her the envelope. Here, you have 72 hours. What's this? She tore it open, her expression changing as she read. An eviction notice? Are you insane? 3 days, I repeated. Everything out, including my clothes, my furniture, and anything else you've borrowed. Daddy! She turned to our father, who stood silently by the door. Tell her she can't do this. Actually, I said, I can, and I am. Oh, in Vienna? That cleaning service you hired? Cancel it. You're not authorized to make changes to my property. Your property? She laughed shrilly. Mom and Dad have no legal right to this apartment, never did. I turned to leave, then paused. In Vienna? That blazer you're wearing? It's worth more than your entire social media career. I want it dry cleaned and returned tomorrow. I walked out, leaving them both standing there. My phone was already buzzing with Mom's incoming call, but I didn't answer. Let them panic. Let them scramble. I had all the time in the world. The explosion came exactly as I'd predicted. Less than 12 hours after serving the eviction notice, my mother burst into the apartment with Harold Wilkins, our family lawyer, trailing behind her like an apologetic shadow. This ends now, Mom announced, brandishing papers. I brought Harold to sort out this ridiculous situation. Vienna stood behind her, eyes red and puffy from what I assumed was a night of strategic crying. I remained seated at my grandmother's writing desk, the only piece of furniture they hadn't dared to move. Harold, I nodded politely. I assume you brought the documents my mother requested? He cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. Yes, well, about that. Show her, Mom interrupted. Show her the lease agreement we co-signed. I opened my laptop. Before you do that, I have something you might want to see. I turned the screen, displaying the property deed with my name on it. And this. Another click revealed my grandmother's notarized will, and especially this. The final document, the suppressed addendum. Harold's face went ash white. You knew about this, Mom accused him. You knew and you didn't tell us? Patricia, he said quietly, I tried to tell you multiple times. The property was legally transferred to Olive before your mother passed. There was nothing to contest. Vienna stepped forward. But that's not fair. She doesn't even use it properly. You need? I stood up slowly. Let's talk about needs, Vienna. Let's talk about my trust fund. Mom's face tightened. That's different. That was a family emergency. Taking half my inheritance without my knowledge or consent was an emergency? Your sister needed. No, I cut her off. What Vienna needed was consequences. What she got was enablers. How dare you? Mom stepped closer, finger raised. After everything we've done for you? Everything you've done to me, I corrected. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the theft. Theft? She laughed hysterically. We're your parents. Which makes it worse. I turned to Harold. You have something to say? He nodded, pulling out a document. I need to formally disclose. I was pressured to withhold information about the will. I've already submitted my statement to the Bar Association. You're betraying us too? Mom's voice rose to a shriek. No, Patricia, I'm finally doing my job properly. He turned to me. The apartment is legally yours. Always has been. And about the trust fund, We can discuss that with the forensic accountant, I said calmly. Vienna burst into tears. You're ruining everything. I just needed a fresh start. You've had dozens of fresh starts, I replied. This time you're getting a hard stop. 72 hours, remember? Clock's ticking. Patricia, Harold interjected, I strongly advise you to comply with the eviction notice. Given the circumstances, given what circumstances? A new voice asked. We all turned to see Eric, my ex-boyfriend, standing in the doorway. Vienna's face went from red to white in an instant. Eric? I hadn't seen him in 2 years. What are you doing here? I heard. He started, then saw Vienna. Something passed between them, a look that made my stomach turn. Oh, I said softly, I see. Olive, he stepped forward. I can explain. No need. I turned back to my family. You have 62 hours left. I suggest you use them wisely. This isn't over, Mom hissed, gathering her designer bag. You'll regret this behavior, Olive. Family is forever. Funny, I replied, watching them all file out. That's my line. As the door closed behind them, I sank into my chair, letting out a long breath. My phone buzzed. Emerson. How did it go? Exactly as expected. Harold folded. Mom threatened. Vienna cried. And? And Eric showed up. A pause. Oh, shit. Yeah. I looked around my violated apartment. Hey, Em, remember when you said we could go nuclear? Ready when you are. I've got the civil fraud paperwork ready to file. I thought about Eric and Vienna's guilty look, about years of manipulation and theft, about my grandmother's mirror sold for pocket change. Do it, I said. File everything. It'll get ugly. It's been ugly for years. I stood up, walking to the window. I just hid it better than they did. Olive, Emerson's voice softened. You okay? I watched my mother's car pull away, Vienna in the passenger seat, both of them probably already plotting their next move. But I had all the cards now, and they didn't even know which game we were playing. I'm fine, I replied. Just thinking about what color to paint the walls after they're gone. As I hung up, a text from Eric lit up my screen. We need to talk. There's something you should know. I deleted it without replying. Whatever he had to say could wait. Right now, I had an apartment to reclaim and a family to dismantle. Let them think they still had moves left to make. The game was already over. They just didn't know it yet. Eric was waiting outside my building the next morning, looking exactly like he had 2 years ago when I'd ended things. Rumpled blazer, anxious hands, guilty eyes. 5 minutes, I said, checking my watch. That's all you get. I should have told you about Vienna. He fell into step beside me as I walked toward the coffee shop. It happened after we broke up. Did it? I kept walking, because the timeline I'm piecing together suggests otherwise. He stopped short. What do you mean? Vienna's old phone. I turned to face him. The one she left logged into my laptop last night. Interesting text history. His face fell. Olive. You were seeing her while we were together. She told you things about me, private things I'd shared with you in confidence. She said you didn't care about me, he blurted, that you were just using me as a placeholder while you focused on your career. I laughed, the sound sharp in the morning air. And you believed her? The sister who once told our entire family I cheated on my SATs because I scored higher than she did? I was stupid. He reached for my arm. I stepped back. Yes, you were. But that's not why you're here, is it? Vienna asked you to talk to me. His silence was answer enough. Let me guess. She wants more time to move out. Maybe suggested you could convince me to let her stay. She's changed, he tried. She's not the same person. You're right about that. She's worse. I checked my watch again. 2 minutes left. Your mother is devastated. He switched tactics. They're your family, Olive. You can't just cut them off. Watch me. I pulled out my phone, showing him the text Vienna had sent him 2 years ago. Don't worry, baby, I'll make sure Olive never finds out. She's so caught up in her work she probably won't even notice you're gone. He paled. How did you? I'm an architect, Eric. I build things. But first, I make sure the foundation is solid. I put my phone away. Time's up. Wait, he called after me. There's more you should know. I kept walking, pulling out my phone to call Emerson. Ready to move forward? She answered. Do it. All of it. The civil fraud charges are already filed. Want me to proceed with the restraining order against Vienna? I thought about the hundreds of texts she'd sent overnight, ranging from threats to tearful apologies. Yes, and Mom, too. That's going to cause chaos at the country club, Emerson said with grim satisfaction. Perfect timing, then. Isn't today her regular lunch with the board members? You're evil. I love it. Emerson paused. The process server is ready. Want me to make it extra public? I remembered every holiday where I was seated at the kids' table while Vienna held court with the adults. Every achievement of mine that was minimized while her failures were rebranded as brave attempts. Make it spectacular. 2 hours later, my phone exploded with notifications. Videos were already circulating of my mother being served legal papers in the middle of the country club dining room, right as she was giving her monthly social committee presentation. Vienna's frantic text started immediately. How could you do this to Mom? Everyone is talking about us. You've ruined everything. I blocked her number. Dad called next. I let it go to voicemail. Olive, please. Your mother is hysterical. We can work this out privately as a family. Call me back. Delete. Emerson sent me a video clip someone had posted. Mom, in her perfectly pressed designer suit, face contorting as she read the papers, the whispers of her social circle spreading like wildfire, her carefully curated image crumbling in real time. How does it feel? I texted back. Like watching karma in action, Emerson replied. But heads up, Vienna's posting about you on social media, playing victim hard. I checked Instagram. Sure enough, there was Vienna, tears perfectly staged, talking about toxic family members and healing journeys. Let her, I typed. The court documents will tell the real story. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Eric again. Stop calling, I answered. Whatever Vienna's offering you, it's not worth it. It's not that, he said quickly. She told me what they did with your trust fund. All of it, not just half. I sat down slowly. What? There's nothing left, Olive. They took everything. Vienna used it to invest in some crypto scheme last year. Lost it all. I ended the call and dialed Emerson. Get me everything, I said when she answered. Every bank record, every transaction. I don't care what it takes. Already on it, she replied. And Olive, this isn't just fraud anymore. This is grand theft. I looked out my office window watching the city buzz below. Good. Let's show them exactly what that means. The Holmes family implosion happened in stages, like a controlled demolition. First came the social media warfare, Vienna's tearful Instagram lives versus the leaked bank statements showing exactly where my trust fund had gone. Then came the family text chains, splitting into factions as relatives chose sides. I was in Emerson's office reviewing documents when Mom's sister, Aunt Rachel, called. Is it true? She demanded. About the crypto investments? Every penny, I replied. Want to see the receipts? Your mother's telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown, she said, that you're jealous of Vienna's success. I laughed. What success? Her failed fashion blog? Her TikTok account with bot followers? She showed up at my house this morning, Aunt Rachel continued, crying about how you're destroying the family. Then she asked to borrow money. Let me guess, for a business opportunity? $20,000. Said she'd pay me back double in 3 months. I pulled up Vienna's investment history on my laptop. Did she mention BitGold Ventures? Silence then. How did you know? Because she lost 60,000 of my money on it last year. I forwarded her the documents. Check your email. While Aunt Rachel read, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Your mother's moving out. Says she can't live with my weakness anymore. Please, Olive, make this stop. I ignored it. Oh my God, Aunt Rachel breathed. Patricia helped her do this? Your own mother? Still think I'm having a breakdown? I'm calling everyone, she said. The whole family needs to know. I ended the call as Emerson walked in with fresh coffee and a thick folder. Harold Wilkins came through, she announced. Turns out he kept copies of everything, including this. She handed me a document. It was a letter from my grandmother to Harold, dated 1 week before she died. Patricia will try to take everything from Olive. She always has. Make sure my granddaughter's protected. The apartment is her fortress. They must never get their hands on it. Your grandmother was playing chess while they were playing checkers, Emerson said softly. My phone rang again. Vienna. What? I answered. I'm sorry. She was crying, but it sounded different this time. Real. I messed up, okay? I know I messed up. Please, can we talk? Face to face? No. Olive, please. Mom's gone crazy. She's saying it's all my fault, that I ruined everything. Dad won't even look at me. I have nowhere to go. You have 24 hours left to get your things out of my apartment, I replied. Use them wisely. I'll tell you everything, she begged. About Eric, about the money, about all of it. Just please don't do this. Too late. I hung up as Emerson's assistant rushed in. You need to see this, she said, turning on the office TV. There was Mom, ambushed by local news cameras outside her country club. The headline scrolled, Prominent Socialite Accused of Family Fund Misappropriation. Patricia, what do you say to allegations that you helped steal your daughter's inheritance? This is a private family matter, she snapped, trying to shield her face with her designer bag. Sources say the amount exceeds $500,000. Any comment? Mom's face contorted. My daughter is disturbed. She's always been jealous of her sister's natural talents. We have documents showing systematic theft over 3 years, the reporter pressed, including forged signatures and fraudulent investments. The camera caught Mom's expression shifting from defensive to panicked. Harold, she screamed off camera, do something. But Harold stepped into frame, looking directly at the camera. As the family's former legal counsel, I can confirm that all documents in question are authentic. Mom's screech of rage was cut off as Emerson muted the TV. Well, she said, that should make tomorrow's court hearing interesting. My phone lit up with a final text from Vienna. I'm leaving the keys under the mat. Everything's out. I really am sorry. Not that it matters now. I showed Emerson. Think she means it? Does it matter? No, I replied, standing up. I suppose it doesn't. I gathered my things, ready to reclaim my apartment, but Emerson caught my arm. Wait, she said. There's one more thing you should see. She handed me a USB drive. Security footage from your building's lobby from 6 months ago. You might want to watch who helped Vienna move in while you were away. I stared at the drive, suddenly understanding. Dad. Still want to answer his texts? I pocketed the drive without a word. Let him keep texting. Let Mom keep screaming at reporters. Let Vienna keep apologizing. I was done listening to any of them. The courthouse hallway buzzed with whispers as I walked in, Emerson at my side. Mom sat with her lawyer, her usually perfect makeup slightly smeared, while Vienna huddled in a corner with Dad. They all watched me pass without saying a word. "Remember," Emerson murmured, "let me do the talking." The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, reviewed our documents with methodical precision. Mom's new lawyer, an expensive-looking man in a tailored suit, tried to argue for more time. "Your Honor, this is a family matter that could be resolved privately." "Counsel," the judge interrupted, "I'm looking at bank statements showing systematic theft of over $500,000. This stopped being a family matter the moment fraud occurred." Mom stood up suddenly. "I am her mother. Everything I did was to help my daughters." "Mrs. Holmes, sit down," the judge ordered, "or I'll have you removed." I kept my eyes forward as Mom sank back into her seat, sniffling dramatically. "The evidence is clear," the judge continued. "The apartment belongs solely to Olive. The trust fund was illegally accessed, and these investment documents—" She held up Vienna's crypto paperwork. "This is textbook fraud." Vienna burst into tears. Dad tried to comfort her, but she shrugged him off. "Your Honor," Mom's lawyer tried again, "my client is willing to work out a payment plan." "With what money?" Emerson stood. "Their assets are already frozen. Mrs. Holmes has been using credit cards to maintain appearances, and Miss Vienna Holmes hasn't held a job in 3 years." The judge nodded. "I'm granting the immediate return of property, full restitution of funds where possible, and—" She paused, reviewing another document. "The restraining orders are approved." "Restraining orders?" Dad's voice cracked. "Olive, please." "Mr. Holmes," the judge warned, "this is not a dialogue." I finally turned to look at them, my family, the people who were supposed to protect me. Mom's face was a mask of fury. Vienna looked shell-shocked. Dad just looked old and defeated. "The defendant, Patricia Holmes, is ordered to maintain a distance of no less than 500 feet from the plaintiff," the judge read. "The same applies to Vienna Holmes. Any violation will result in immediate arrest." "You can't do this!" Mom shrieked, jumping up again. "I am her mother." "Remove Mrs. Holmes," the judge ordered. 2 court officers stepped forward. As they led Mom out, her screams echoing down the hallway, Vienna approached me. "Don't," Emerson warned, stepping between us. Vienna's voice was small. "I found Grandma's mirror. I can get it back." "Add it to the restitution list," Emerson replied coldly. Dad made one last attempt, reaching for my hand. "Sweetheart, we're still family." I pulled away. "No, we're not." The judge's gavel cracked through the air. "Court is adjourned. Olive?" I turned back. "Your grandmother was a friend of mine," she said quietly. "She'd be proud of you today." Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras. Mom was already giving her version to anyone who'd listen, mascara running down her face. "They've turned my daughter against me," she wailed. "After everything I sacrificed." "Mrs. Holmes," a reporter called out, "what about the forged signatures, the unauthorized investments?" "And the apartment deed," another added. "Why pretend to have legal rights you didn't possess?" I walked past them all, head high, saying nothing. Let Mom spin her stories. The court records would speak for themselves. Emerson caught up with me at the car. "Vienna's posting on Instagram again, playing victim, saying she's learning and growing from this experience." "Of course she is." I checked my phone. Dozens of messages from flying monkeys, family friends, distant relatives, all taking sides. I deleted them all. "Dad's still trying to call," Emerson noted. "Let him." I started the car. He had 29 years to make the right choice. He made the wrong one every time. Where to now? I thought about my apartment, empty of their presence at last, about my grandmother's mirror, soon to be returned, about all the spaces they'd invaded and claimed as their own. Home, I said simply. I'm going home. As we drove away, I caught a last glimpse of them in my rearview mirror. Mom surrounded by cameras, Vienna clutching her designer bag like a shield, Dad standing alone on the courthouse steps. They looked small, insignificant, finally powerless. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Dad. I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. I clicked it off without responding. He was right about one thing. It was too late. The smell of fresh paint filled my apartment as I carefully touched up the last wall. Gone were Vienna's attempts at hot pink, replaced by the soft sage green my grandmother had always loved. Each brush stroke felt like reclaiming another piece of my space. My phone buzzed, Emerson sending updates. Mom had finally moved out of the family house, leaving Dad with nothing but carefully curated photos of a perfect family that never existed. Vienna's social media influencer career had imploded after her followers discovered the truth. The restitution payments were trickling in, garnished from what little assets they had left. A knock at the door made me pause. Through the peephole, I saw Eric shifting nervously. What do you want? I called through the door. To return something, he replied. I opened the door cautiously. In his hands was my grandmother's mirror, carefully wrapped. Vienna left it at my place, he explained. I thought, well, I knew it was important to you. I took it without inviting him in. Thank you. Olive, don't. I met his eyes. Just don't. He nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I was wrong. About everything. Yes, I agreed. You were. After he left, I unwrapped the mirror carefully, checking for damage. My reflection looked different somehow. Harder, clearer, more defined. Another knock. This time it was Emerson carrying takeout and a bottle of wine. Housewarming gift, she announced, walking in, even though it's the same house. It's not, though, I said, setting the mirror aside. Not any more. We settled on my newly reupholstered couch, another piece rescued from Vienna's aesthetic makeover. Dad called my office again, Emerson mentioned, pouring the wine. Asked if you'd gotten the package he sent. I glanced at the unopened box on my counter. Haven't checked it. Want me to? I nodded. Emerson retrieved the package and opened it carefully. Inside was a small wooden box I recognized from my childhood, my grandmother's jewelry box. There's a letter, Emerson said softly. I took it, unfolding the paper slowly. Olive. Your grandmother gave me this box before she died, said to give it to you when you finally stood up for yourself. I never had the courage to do what you did. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just wanted you to have what's rightfully yours. Dad. Inside the box was my grandmother's sapphire ring, the one Mom had always claimed was promised to Vienna. Looks like Grandma had one last surprise, Emerson said. A final knock interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Harold Wilkins. Just dropping off the last of the paperwork, he said when I opened the door. And there's something else. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter dated just days before my grandmother died. My dearest Olive, by the time you read this, you'll have finally seen them for who they are. It hurt, watching them dim your light year after year, but I knew you'd find your strength. The apartment isn't just a home. It's proof that you never needed their permission to shine. They'll call you cruel for standing up to them, cold for walking away. Let them. Some people only understand boundaries when they crash into them at full speed. The sapphire ring isn't just jewelry, it's a reminder. Every time you wear it, remember, you are not what they made you survive. You are what you chose to become. Protect your peace, my darling. They won't. All my love, Grandma. I slipped the ring onto my finger as Emerson poured more wine. To Grandma, she said, raising her glass, the original chess master. To boundaries, I added, and consequences. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Vienna trying yet another way to reach me. I blocked it without reading it. You know, Emerson said, that sage green really does look better than hot pink. I looked around my reclaimed space, at the antique furniture restored to its proper place, at my grandmother's mirror catching the evening light, at the walls painted in colors I chose. It does, I agreed. It really does. The ring caught the light as I raised my glass again. Outside, the city hummed with life, but in here, in my fortress, there was only peace. The kind of peace that comes from finally, completely letting go. They say home is where the heart is, but sometimes home is where you learn your heart is stronger than anyone ever knew, even yourself, especially yourself.